What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Educated Barfly. Today we're going to be making the 6 most iconic cocktails in history. So whether you're a home bartender or whether you're an aspiring bartender, these are 6 recipes that you have to master. There is a theory in storytelling that there are only 7 basic plots, and every single story that has ever been written or told has just one version of these 7 plots. And in cocktailing, there is basically a similar theory that there are only 6 basic cocktails that started the entire universe of cocktails. And I think that everyone should have these things mastered. So let's get into it, and I'll talk you through each one of these cocktails. Cocktail number 1, the whiskey highball. So highballs are a family of drinks that basically consist of 2 ingredients. You have your spirit, and then you lengthen it with soda water or mineral water. And initially, historically speaking, the first highballs to emerge were Scotch highballs, which emerged sometime around 1894. For highballs to work well, especially if you're going to be adding more ingredients into it or doing some type of riff on it, you really need to understand the way that flavor profiles work. So when you do this very simple drink, you want to make sure you use very cold soda water or mineral water, and obviously you want to use a base that you like. Today I'm using Springbank 12-year cask strength Scotch. It is my absolute favorite Scotch, and since we are making a Scotch highball, that's what we're going to be doing. So the first thing we're going to do is just 2 ounces of Scotch into a glass, and then I'm going to add my ice kind of gingerly because it's very slippery, and then we're just going to top that up with soda water. I would say approximately 4 ounces, maybe a little bit over that. And there you have it, my friends, the Scotch highball. Cocktail number 2 is the Old Fashioned. The Old Fashioned is one of the most popular cocktails, and for very good reason. Basically, its build is the definition of the word cocktail. The first definition of the word cocktail comes from a May 13th, 1806 edition of the Columbian Balance and Repository newspaper, which defined a cocktail like this: a potent concoction of bitters, spirits, sugar, and water. And that's exactly what an Old Fashioned is. There are a lot of different ways to make an Old Fashioned, and today I'm going to make you my preferred Old Fashioned. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is just a few dashes of Angostura bitters into the glass. Depends on what kind of bitter dasher you're using. So if you're using a bitters, like a Japanese bitters dasher, you're going to want to do a little bit more bitters than you would if you're doing an Angostura bottle. Then we're going to just add 1 cube of sugar, and we're going to add a little dash of soda. We want to add this little dash of soda because the carbonic acid inside the soda is going to help our sugar to dissolve. And then I'm going to take the blunt end of my stirring spoon, and I'm just going to crush it up. You don't want to eviscerate it, because in my Old Fashions, I really like to have a little grainy texture, and that's going to make sure that the drink evolves over time. It's going to start stiff, and it's going to get a little bit sweeter and a little bit sweeter. What I like to say about Old Fashions is that last sip is just kind of a little pop of sugar, and the sugar helps your dopamine release. You get very happy, and that leads you to your next Old Fashioned. All right, that's about does it. Then what we're going to do is add 2 ounces of rye whiskey. Today I'm using Rittenhouse 100 proof bonded rye. I like to use overproof spirits in Old Fashions, especially rye, because the spiciness of the rye really balances out the sugar in the cocktail. And then we're just going to add our ice, and we're going to give it a nice stir. Now you really don't have to worry about stirring too much, especially if you take a piece of ice right out of the freezer. It's going to take quite a while for it to chill down properly. The great news about an Old Fashioned is that it's sitting on a rock, so it's going to melt and dilute as you drink it anyway. So you stir it till you think it's good. I like to try and get it down to about -3 Celsius. I think that's about it. And then we're just going to add an orange peel and just spritz it on top. And if you were going to make a traditional Old Fashioned, you would just leave it at this, but I like to do a little lemon. The lemon is a little bit of a sharper flavor. The orange is a little bit of a sweeter flavor, and it just makes a really nice flavor pairing. And there it is, the Old Fashioned. Cocktail number 3, the Martini. The Martini is one of the most iconic drinks out there, and it has also given birth to some of the most iconic drinks, such as the Martinez and Manhattan. On its face, it's a pretty simple cocktail. It's just a 2-to-1 ratio of dry vermouth and gin, but your gin choice is absolutely important, and your vermouth choice is absolutely important. Vermouth is a fortified wine with a proprietary blend of spices, so no 2 vermouths are alike. So Dolan vermouth is different from Martini, is different from Noilly Prat. It's all very proprietary, so that's going to affect the final product. Today I'm going to make for you my absolute hands down favorite Martini. my preferred root martini. So first thing we're gonna do is just 6 dashes or 7 of orange bitters. In this bitters dasher, I've put 2 different orange bitters, Regan's and Fee's, a 50-50 mix, which is my favorite. And then we're gonna do just 1 ounce of dry vermouth, 2 ounces of Plymouth gin. And I'm using Dolan dry vermouth. So I really like its flavor profile. Then what we're gonna do, we're just gonna add some ice into our tin. And we're gonna give it a stir. It wouldn't be a Barfly video if I didn't forget something, so I'm just gonna grab my glass. Stirring this down to temperature is really important because it is in a glass that does not have an ice cube, so it is not going to be chilled over time. Once you pour this, you have lit the fuse that it's gonna start getting warm immediately. So you wanna make sure that you chill it down to temperature all the way down. And don't worry about over diluting, because if you're using ice that just came out of the freezer, you're not gonna. Somebody in the comments has actually kind of called me out and asked me if I could remind you guys that when you guys are making these at home, you definitely chill your glass. I don't chill glasses on Educated Barfly because I think it's important for you guys to see the actual color of the finished product so that you know you're doing it right. But whenever I'm serving a martini to anybody, the glass comes out of the freezer or a glass chiller, it is chilled. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna give it a nice pour into our Nick and Nora. And then I'm gonna garnish with an orange twist. Now you can do a lemon twist, you can do an orange twist, but for my money, the orange twist is my favorite. There it is, the martini. Cocktail number 4, the daiquiri. The mixture of lime, rum, and sugar has been around almost since rum has been invented, and this is a mixture that is so good that wars have been fought over it. So let's just get into it. The first thing we are gonna do is 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup, 1 ounce of lime juice. Choice of rum is really up to you. I really like using Flor de Caña 4-year. It is just a very, very clean daiquiri. We are doing 2 ounces, by the way. Just makes for a nice, clean daiquiri, just like a very sharp and clean daiquiri, just what I like my daiquiris to taste like. And we're just gonna add our ice into our big tin, add our cocktail, and give it a shake. Give it a nice double strain. Just give it a nice little lime wheel garnish. The most iconic 3-ingredient drink, the daiquiri. The Sidecar, like the daiquiri, evolved out of the sour template, but unlike the daiquiri, which is a little sharper in flavor, the Sidecar uses a little bit of liqueur to sort of mellow it out. This is a very difficult drink to master. It is simple in its creation, but the selection of ingredients is really important. So today what I've decided to do is actually go with a Curacao and a cognac that are made by the same maker and really are kind of engineered to complement each other fully. First thing we're gonna do is 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. And then we're just gonna do 1 teaspoon of simple syrup. We're gonna do 1 ounce of Curacao. And then 1.5 ounces of cognac. And then we're just gonna add our ice. I like to do it in the big tin, no splashing. And give it a shake. And then we're just gonna give it a little double strain. And we're just finish it off with an orange twist. Voila, the Sidecar. Cocktail number 6, the Brandy Flip. Flips have been being created since at least the 1600s, and what they initially were was a blend of rum, ale, cream, sugars, and spices. Basically what would happen is they would build the drink in a large tankard and they would take a hot iron poker and they would put it in the drink, and what that would do is heat it, obviously, but then it would also invert the sugars and or flip them. That's why it's called a flip. Over time, eggs were added to the drink. A little note on using raw eggs in cocktails. Using raw eggs isn't for everybody, and anytime you use a raw ingredient, you are assuming a bit of a risk, but it is not as unsafe as people think, and I have been making raw egg cocktails for 10 years for people, and I have never had anyone get sick. So I just wanted to let you know that there is a little inherent risk in it, but it is very minute. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna crack this egg and put it in the tin. Then we're going to do ½ an ounce of cane sugar syrup. So this is not simple syrup. This is actually different. This is made from boiling down cane juice into a syrup. It's usually made in Martinique. We're doing ½ an ounce. And then we're gonna be doing 3/4 of an ounce of heavy cream. And then 2 ounces of brandy. Lock our tins and shake it dry to sort of emulsify and froth the interior. Well, I was gonna say the interior of the cocktail, but to emulsify and froth the cocktail. Now, I've taken this ice and I've let it actually sit and temper, and the reason why I've done that is because when you put very cold ice into your cocktail, it's gonna shatter, and I want this to remain one big piece. It is very important to shake with a big rock of ice because you get a much better texture. So we're just gonna add that in, and we're gonna shake it. And even though I didn't hear my ice break apart in there, I'm still gonna double strain it as a precaution because you don't wanna have little shards of ice in your drink. If you have little shards of ice in your drink, it's gonna kind of kill the foam. And since we used a full egg, the proteins inside the yolk actually inhibit the foam production, so you don't get as great foam as you would, let's say, with just egg white. And then we're just gonna finish it off with a little nutmeg. And there it is, the Brandy Flip. So there you have it, the 6 most iconic cocktails in history and the 6 cocktails that provided the template for every modern cocktail to come after them. Go out and master these drinks and you'll have the best foundation for cocktail making you can have, and you will also have a very delicious time doing it. I will see you guys next time. If you like our channel, please hit like and subscribe, and if you want to check out Patreon and see all the good stuff that we're dropping there, go to patreon.com/theeducatedbarfly. I will see you guys then.